Hello guys and welcome to our channel, Bibarul here. In today's video I'm gonna be talking about legendary gear in the game and why it is valuable, what's the pros and cons, how to use it, few tips, and like everything, and answering few questions I got about it. And there will be also a guide to legendary armor from World vs World, so stay tuned. For a start, the first question I got is, should I go for legendary armor or legendary weapon first? First, let me talk about this. Legendary armor, in my opinion, is the most valuable legendary item you can have. Not weapon, not rings, it's legendary armor. Why? Some people argue that if you have a legendary ring, which I don't, but if you have it, like Conflux, you will be able to change it between multiple characters. And it doesn't matter if you're a medium class, light class, or heavy armor class. Which is right, but there is a really serious problem with changing gear from a character to another. In general, make most legendary impractical to change, which is equipment template. As you see, like I am having 5 here with using 5 different builds, for example. That means if I remove a legendary beast from them, I will end up changing the stats of every gear. Like if I remove this from every equipment template, when I get it back to this character, I will have to slot it on every equipment template and choose the rune inside it, and choose the infusion inside it, and choose different stats. Like I using here apothecary. In another one like this, I use trailblazer. I use different fusion. And in this one, for example, I use different rune. So it becomes completely impractical and annoying and not really worth it unless you're leaving this character for a few weeks or something. Like you're not simply switching between characters for fractal or something like this. It's not worth it, which makes something like the ring completely bad idea unless you're making it for a character and stuck there for every equipment template you use. And another problem is it's so easy to get trinkets ascended, like multiple ones even. If you play a lot of fractals, World vs World or PvP, you can get the Attune Mist band, and you can even increase it so easily. It's already 2 infusion slots, and you can get it to 3 with a pretty simple trick. And also Living World Season 3, Living World Season 4, with the unbound magic and the volatile magic, you can buy multiple sets of legend ascended, without much work, like simple currencies. Yes, you could change the currency. Like if you only have Living World Season 4, you can change the currency for gold through trophy shipment, but it's simply like that. You're using few gold and you would have the set you want. So that's one problem. The second is legendary armor mean you can choose stats, you can choose infusion, and you can choose the very important rune. So having an entire set like this make you able to play around with different build and test. Once I had legendary armor, I was able to, like I had it only for like a couple of weeks or something, and I've been playing with my builds, and I've been doing a lot of great work on it, like getting specifically to the details I want to test. Better gear, like I don't have to use exotic since I had like 2 sets of ascended on a different style only, so it can be incredibly valuable. And the runes can be removed. Also, comparing to weapon can do the same thing. You can change the sigil and also you can change the stats, but you have either 2 weapons or up to 4 weapons. That's on land only. So the thing is, 1 weapon cost in buying mostly higher than the entire set of legendary armor, which is 6 pieces, and the weapon is just 1. So in order to get weapons versus armor, you would have to get the whole weapons, and that's incredibly expensive, of course. And not only that, weapon cannot be used with every build. Like let's say I get staff, that means I can't use it with my SoulBeast. Let's say I get short bow, that means I can't use it with Bar Druid, and that's arise a problem. But the armor work with everything you do with every build or equipment template you're gonna use for this character, and every other medium character. If you had to move it to a thief or engineer, it doesn't matter. It will work with everything, no exceptions. You don't change between armors as you change between weapons. The armor is stable. And the last part is also the cost. Armors cost for 6 pieces. You get the value of 6 legendary pieces for less than 1 weapon if you buy it, and a little bit more than 1 weapon if you're making it, depending on the weapon, of course. Like Eternity will be expensive. And it's about 100 to 300 gold maximum or something like this, depending on the method you're gonna do too. And comparing to trinkets or something like the rings, which I also talked about conflux only, if you're talking about aurora or vision or something like this, even crafting process can be a little bit harsh through collection and stuff like this. And it will cost nearly to 6 pieces in only 1 piece. So that's why legendary armor is the most valuable legendary you can have. It is what you should think about as first choice. So that leaves us to another point. It's time. If you have no problem through gold spending, if you already intend to get full legendary style, and you'll get all the weapons if you're rich and you don't care. With this, there is 2 ideas. If you can buy legendary, I mean, it's gonna be so easy. Just grab them out of the trading post or trading community or whatever, and just start making your legendary armor right away. If you have decent amount of gold, you're not just loaded and you don't care, and you're gonna craft weapon, then it depends on your play time, but you can finish a weapon faster and still continue to do the armor. But if you're like most players and you have to spend your gold wisely and you want a legendary before the other, and you're gonna take a month or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it's gonna take a lot to gather the material and everything, then of course go for the armor first. Now, a few tips about legendary gear in general. Legendary gear can be slotted with infusions and runes so easily, and it doesn't destroy the rune in it, and you can also customize. So this one I run it with apothecary with healing infusion and the rune of Krite. Once I click on another infusion, the old one get out and the new one get inside. So I can do this and just inside. And also I can remove the things from it, like just like that, and leave it empty. And now I'm removing the infusion and leave it empty. Now the best privilege or advantage that legendary gear have is that you, out of combat, you can recustomize it to any other stats in the game. Like let's say Berserker, I can just do that, which change 1 piece, or I can check this box to change it to every piece of legendary armor equipped. And they can also change a rune and change the infusion, but it will not change every gear of piece. It will only change the stats. The other you're gonna have to do it manually. I didn't find a way to do it to every piece. And that's what can make the legendary armor or all legendary gear extremely beneficial. You just don't have to think gear anyway ever again. You just do whatever you want anytime. Change builds, stats, everything just to your liking. And also it can be less costly. If you're gonna craft multiple sets of ascended gear, it's gonna cost you a lot. Every piece would cost like 40 gold or something like this. I can't remember how much now, and crafting material keep changing. So let's say 40 gold for the sake of the argument. That means for entire set you would have to spend about 240 or something like that. And for another set it is the same again. It's basically like about 3 sets is already the cost of legendary armor. Even so, you can get some ascended gear cheap through something like strike mission, but still it is limited on what you need as stats, and you would have to change it. You can change the stats on ascended gear, but it costs you a little bit of money, and you can't keep doing it, and it's impractical and cannot be done just whenever needed. Which also another reason why it is extremely good to have a legendary armor, because it is 6 pieces and the price for it is extremely cheap. Literally comparing to ascended set, it is simply 3 or 4 sets of ascended for entire legendary set. So let's say I already wanted 5 equipment template different with different gear, like one for power, one for condition and healing, one for fractal with its infusion or whatever for my druid, and one for condition druid, like let's say one for healing druid, one for condition druid, one for my SoulBeast as condition PvE, and one for my power druid, for example, and even more. That's already much more expensive than legendary armor. You're gonna spend the sets, you're gonna spend multiple infusions, you're gonna spend multiple rune sets, and all that could have been done easier through a legendary armor. This, however, changed once we talk about something like trinkets and weapons, because legendary weapon and trinkets can be extremely expensive, extremely demanding, and even ask you to play specific game mode. Unlike the legendary armor, it exists in every game mode. And for extremely little value, like 2k gold for a single weapon will never be close to just crafting even multiple of this same weapon. If I want, like let's say I play 2 builds or 3 using short bow, that's it. I will never play 5 or 6 builds with short bow. But short bow still costs arguably, if you make it about 1k gold or less, about 900 or something. If you're buying it, it's about 1k and 700 directly, 1k 500, even I can't really remember the prices, but the point is it is too much more than actually making one. And can go for the trinkets, which you can buy them, like we said, with unbound magic, with volatile magic. If you want the attuned mist band, which only the rings, it can be still easy through word versus word, fractal, and also PvP. So legendary armor is, if you're cheap like me, if you spend your time not gaining any gold and you're just lazy, it is still cheaper to have legendary armor. Now, there is some downside to having legendary armor actually, which I believe will come shocking to some of you, but it is a matter of perspective. For a start, let's say I want to change my look for legendary armor. Let's say I'll change this as my headpiece. I changed it on my first equipment template, but the thing is, it will change to every equipment template. As you see, every equipment template I have the same headgear now. So you can't have multiple fashion style on the same character, because in every equipment template it's basically the same armor. This can be a benefit to some if you don't have that much charging, that currency here, this one, transmutation charges. So if you want to change the look and if you like a symbol or the same look to your ranger, like if you want to make a ranger look a certain way, then with only 6 pieces you can change all your equipment templates. So it doesn't matter what build you're using now, like your druid, your SoulBeast, it will look the same. But if you're like me, I used to have a lot of them, so I would change my looks whether in PvE as a style and in World vs. World as a style, especially that I play not only the same profession, I play a single character, which means I wanted a lot of fashion styles, not simple one or the exact same one all the time, but I lost the ability to do that since I'm using only legendary gear right now, or legendary armor. So I count that as a downside, but as we said, it can be an advantage to save up transmutation charges. So that is, as we said, is a downside. And there is another downside to legendary armor actually, or legendary gear in general. If you want to move it between characters, that means this character left with no gear whatsoever. Let's say, for example, I had multiple ascended sets, which will be more expensive than legendary armor as we stated, but I can still play my druid if I removed my damage gear, which my SoulBeast one, to like my necro. So my necromancer can use a trailblazer set, but my druid still have his apothecary shaman set. So if I enter my ranger again, if I log into my ranger, I would still be able to play it to its maximum potential on a simple thing, like let's say I would play ranger for my world versus world and play necro for my PvE. It is possible, but since I only have legendary armor now, if I remove it, I need to reset it to every equipment template, and without it I have nothing. I would need to buy exotic or have an extra set of exotic or ascended, which completely, of course, counterintuitive. I mean, like, you spend more money for nothing. It would be the same idea to have multiple sets is better, which mean have another set of legendary armor is better. This for light, like you're giving your necro a legendary armor, would be a smart idea, but not for your thief, not for your engineer. You do not need to keep making legendary armor for every character. This is gonna be a bane, and the cost will be just a nightmare. And that gets us to the last point, legendary armory, which was announced well, considerably a long time ago from AreaNet, that they plan on releasing what called a legendary armory, which gonna be something you put your legendary gear in it, and it will be accessed by the entire account. This of course will make something like legendary rings or trinkets, like the entire trinkets, accessory rings or whatever, be extremely valuable, since it will be used by every class in the game, not only medium or light or heavy, but like we said, according to the price and how much many sets we can get already from trinkets easy, I still think armor will still be the most valuable legendary thing you can get. And if legendary armor came, it started raining here. I'm not sure if you're gonna hear this sound, but we're gonna continue anyway. So on another note, if they actually came up with the legendary armor, if it was in the game, that will make even legendary pieces or legendary gear even much more valuable to possess. It will make everything easier for all your build, all your work around it will be greatest. You would still have to have 3 types of legendary armor, which can be painful, but not as painful as having every weapon in the game, for example. And it would still be great at this point if legendary armor came to have a full trinket set of legendary. I of course don't care about full trinket legendary, since some of them is a lot of PvE work, is too much gold, and I can't do it. And I can buy ascended and adjust my build accordingly through only legendary armor. So let's say I'm using Trailblazer here, but I broke 100% of condition duration. So on this character I can lower my legendary armor to dire or rapid if I find critical chance to be useful. I can go with Viper if it's still useful. So it will not be optimal, not raid level optimal, I don't raid anyway, but it can still be incredibly effective. So let me tell you about my journey in legendary armor. I wanted to do it first to help with my build testing. It will take 3 classes of the 9, all medium, so I don't have to buy or use any other exotic gear or whatever. It will make me see the class to a higher potential, and always getting the rune out, selling them, so it will be much cheaper, and I will not be costed money, and I can experiment completely freely and don't make mistakes with pieces and multiple sets of exotic and stuff like this. But like I already explained in the disadvantage of this, removing it from all equipment template and resorting to change classes just to test a build, and it can take days or sometimes more than a week or 2. I don't leave this character completely and I still need to play it, so I was reluctant to do such thing. But it still made all my gaming better with Ranger. I was able to adjust my points to a closer thing to what I actually want. But also legendary armor, as it's not as expensive for legendary thing, it is still expensive, let me tell you. It took me like not that much time, since I already have all the World vs. World stuff. I started with like 41k tickets or something. I have a lot of honor, testimony of heroics, like no problem. But crafting material, like the raw gold, was a problem. I already sell most of my memory of battle, so buying those was not cheap. Memory of battle is seriously expensive right now, and it's been for a while. It doesn't change, as you see. So a full set, like a full stack, sorry, even when I made it, a full stack was a little bit above 30 gold, but it is now a little bit better. But as you see, and you're gonna need a lot of it. So that was a little bit of a problem. I ended my armor and I was in debt, 350 gold, but then this happened. I get a drop of a precursor, so I was fine after that. So that's it for the video on legendary discussion, I guess, and my own advices and opinions about it. Well, tell me what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next video, which will be my guide to World vs World armor. So see you.